My name is Ethan, and 2 years ago, my little brother Todd turned my wedding day into his personal stage, stealing the spotlight from me and my wife Michelle. But I made sure he paid for it in a way he'd never forget. A revenge so sharp it left him broken and alone. If you've ever had someone ruin a moment that was supposed to be yours, you're gonna want to hear this. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into how I turned betrayal into justice. Growing up, my family was a pressure cooker of favoritism. My younger brother Todd, now 29, came into the world fighting. A complicated birth landed him in the ICU for a month, and from that day on, my parents treated him like he was made of glass. They doted on him, gave him whatever he wanted, even if it meant shoving me and my sister Abby, now 32, to the sidelines. Todd didn't just soak up the attention, he demanded it. Picture a kid who'd throw a tantrum at your birthday party because he didn't get a gift, or who'd fake an injury at your graduation to steal the family's focus. That was Todd. By the time we were adults, Abby and I had a strained relationship with him and our parents, who never saw a problem with his behavior. Todd's antics didn't stop as he got older. If anything, they got worse. He met Lucy, a sweet 24-year-old who fell hard for him. And before long, she was pregnant. You'd think that would ground him, but no. At the baby shower my mom threw for Abby, who was expecting her first child, Todd and Lucy stood up in front of everyone and announced their pregnancy. Abby's face fell. She'd been glowing, cradling her bump, only to have her moment snatched away. I saw her hands clench the edge of her chair, her smile frozen as guests swarmed Todd with congratulations. I was furious for her, but it wasn't my place to act. Not yet. Fast forward to my engagement to Michelle, my rock, my partner. I'm 35 now, and when I proposed to her, I wanted to keep things simple. Just us, maybe elope on a quiet beach somewhere. But Michelle's eyes lit up when she talked about having her family there, sharing the day with her parents, her siblings. I couldn't say no to that. So, out of obligation, I invited my family too. Deep down, I knew Todd would try something. He always did. The warning signs came early. My best man, Jim, a guy who's had my back since college, noticed something off during a pre-wedding dinner. A receipt from a jewelry store slipped out of Todd's pocket while he was reaching for his phone. Jim's no fool, he picked it up, saw it was for an engagement ring, and confronted Todd. Voices rose. Forks clinked against plates as other guests turned to stare. Todd's face went red, stammering denials, but Jim wasn't buying it. He pulled me aside later that night, his voice low, "I serious. Ethan, he's planning to propose at your wedding." I know it. My stomach churned. I could already picture it. Todd, grinning like he owned the place, stealing the spotlight while Michelle and I stood there, humiliated. I confronted Todd the next day, my jaw tight, the words spilling out. "You're out of the wedding party. I'm not taking any chances." Todd's eyes widened, then filled with tears, crocodile tears, I knew from years of watching him play the victim. He ran to our parents, who called me in a fury. "You're judging him unfairly," my mom shouted over the phone, her voice trembling with indignation. "He hasn't done anything." I wasn't having it. I laid it all out. Every time Todd had hijacked a family event, every moment he'd made about himself. My dad went quiet. My mom's protests fizzled. They couldn't deny the pattern. They promised Todd wouldn't try anything at the wedding, and he even swore at himself, his voice all sincerity. But I didn't trust him. I let him stay as a guest, but I warned him, my voice cold. "If you pull anything, Todd, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." He nodded, all meek and innocent, but I saw the glint in his eyes. He wasn't done. The wedding day arrived, and it was everything Michelle had dreamed of. The venue was a rustic barn strung with fairy lights, the air thick with the scent of roses and fresh-cut grass. Michelle looked like a vision in her white dress, her smile wide as she walked down the aisle. My chest swelled with pride, with love. For a moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, Todd would behave. Then came the father-daughter dance. Michelle and her dad swayed to a slow song, her head resting on his shoulder, tears in her eyes as they shared a moment she'd been talking about for months. The crowd was quiet, some wiping their eyes, caught up in the tenderness. Then I saw him, Todd, weaving through the tables, his face smug, his hand in his pocket. My heart sank. Before I could move, he strode right up to Lucy, dropped to one knee in the middle of the dance floor, and pulled out a ring. His voice boomed, loud enough to drown out the music. "Lucy, will you marry me?" The room froze. Michelle's dad stopped dancing, his arms still around her. Michelle's smile vanished, her eyes darting to me, wide with hurt. Guests gasped, some clapped, others whispered, unsure what to do. Todd stood there, basking in the chaos, while Lucy blushed and nodded, oblivious to the tension. I felt my fists clench, my pulse hammering in my ears. He'd done it. He'd ruined the one moment Michelle had wanted most. But I was ready. Jim and I had planned for this. We'd hired a woman, let's call her Sarah, to play a part. She was an actress, sharp and convincing, and we'd given her everything she needed to pull this off. As the crowd's attention lingered on Todd and Lucy, Sarah slipped through the guests, her heels clicking on the wooden floor. She wore a tight red dress, her expression a mix of fury and heartbreak. She marched straight up to Todd and Lucy, her voice cutting through the murmurs like a knife. "Todd, how could you?" she cried, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're proposing to her while I'm carrying your baby?" The barn went silent. Lucy's face paled, her hand frozen midair, the ring glinting on her finger. Todd's mouth dropped open, his eyes darting between Sarah and the crowd. What? I don't even know you," he stammered, his voice cracking. Sarah didn't miss a beat. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number, and Todd's phone lit up in his pocket, the ringtone blaring. Gasps rippled through the room. I'd slipped into his phone earlier that week, adding Sarah's number under a fake name, even planting a few flirty texts to make it look real. Todd fumbled to silence his phone, his hands shaking, but the damage was done. Lucy's eyes filled with tears. She yanked the ring off her finger and threw it at him, the metal clinking as it hit the floor. "We're done," she screamed, storming out, her sobs echoing in the silence. The guests were buzzing now, whispering, pointing. Todd's face was a mask of panic, his eyes locking onto mine. I didn't hide my smile. He knew. He knew it was me. I turned away, wrapping my arm around Michelle, who was fighting back tears but gave me a small nod. She'd known about the plan from the moment Todd ruined her dance. She'd given me the green light, her voice quiet but firm. "Make him regret it, Ethan." The rest of the wedding went on, but the mood had shifted. Guests kept stealing glances at Todd, who sat alone in a corner, his head in his hands. My parents tried to approach me, their faces a mix of shock and anger, but I brushed them off. This was my day, and I wasn't letting them ruin it too. After the honeymoon, a blissful week in Hawaii with Michelle, where we laughed about the look on Todd's face, I came back to a flood of missed calls and texts. Todd was furious, demanding I clear his name. Lucy had thrown his stuff out, changed the locks, and was refusing to let him see their kid. My parents were blowing up my phone, calling me cruel, saying I'd gone too far. Even Abby, who'd been burned by Todd's antics as much as I had, texted me. "Ethan, that was brutal. Maybe too much." I didn't care. I sent Todd a single text. "No idea what you're talking about." Attached was a screenshot of the wedding bill, thousands of dollars, and a vague demand for half the cost. Let him sweat. Let him wonder. He'd made my wedding about him, and I'd made sure he'd never forget the consequences. Looking back, I don't regret it. Todd had spent years stepping on everyone else's moments, and that day, he learned what it felt like to lose everything. Maybe it'll make him think twice next time. Maybe not. But for me, watching his smug grin crumble, knowing I'd protected Michelle's day and taken back what was ours, it felt like justice. What do you think? Was my revenge too harsh, or did Todd get what he deserved? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic Reddit revenge stories. Let's keep the justice rolling.